Week 12 can be full of surprises, but we're not there yet. We're not on the last leg. We're on week 11. So hold your horses, people. I'm super excited about week 11 and some of the potential trap games and some of the ways that you can win a lot of money. I've won mine. I'm trying to help you get yours. Drizzy Drake is in the building to get us right for the weekend. Let's talk about it on today's show.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Drizzy Drake of Locked On Seminoles podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Underdog. Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com with the promo code Locked On and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. And if you're looking for some real money, maybe you can bet with Drizzy Drake on Duke football. I'm just telling you, if you really want to get some, go ahead, Money Mike. Mike Elko, I just want to say thank you before we start. Thank you for taking the season to the next level and really giving me my bread that I knew I was going to get eventually, but it's so nice to get it now. And, going bowling. They're Deep Blue Devils going bowling.
Yeah, that Cash App hurt. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I sent it to you. I sent it to you before the show because I don't want to be like you come and be like, "Hey, where's my money on live TV?" But hey, listen, we made some money that last week. We had Boston College covering. We took that. We had Georgia Tech also win the game outright. We took that. FSU Miami. We told you to take the under, and Miami, as you know, it's been for the past 2 weeks, didn't score an offensive touchdown. So it's all right. All is right in the world.
100%. We can talk about Miami. You can get your jokes off, but we are going to go straight through the slate on the Saturday. Nothing but games, ACC style. First up will be Virginia Tech, a 2-7 team against the Duke Blue Devils. And as much as we want to say Duke, you've got everything to go. You got your bowl game. There's still more to get. And the Virginia Tech is desperate for a win. They are a coastal rival. They'll be on ESPN3 at 12 noon. And right now, Duke is favored, but not by a lot. So you still feel like there's a chance for the Hokies.
I mean, it's more though. It's like I'm not the biggest fan. That's like overall with Virginia Tech, it just feels like they're just not a very, very good team. Grant Wells still is leaving a lot to be desired overall. As I said last week, I am now Pastor Drake. I have no faith in them to cover anything. But then the question rises now that Duke has made a bowl game. Now, are they playing for Coastal? I don't think so because UNC owns the outright as tiebreaker overall. UNC has an easier path for the rest of the way if they can get past Wake Forest this week, which, spoiler alert, I think they can. So you got to ask the question, can Duke get up for this game, especially against an opponent as weak as Virginia Tech?
And you saw them stumble a little bit against Georgia Tech, ended up losing because they couldn't really get back in the fight. Don't put yourself in a position to where you're smelling yourself a little too much. That's all I'm saying for Duke.
Well, that being said, his name is Money Mike Elko officially. So, folks, take Duke at -9.5 because I think it's going to get a little bit higher because, like all people were saying, Virginia Tech, the season's already over for them. So, at this point now, they just basically be a team that might be quitting this week.
See, I would take Virginia plus 9.5. I think it's going to be closer than people think. It is It is in Durham, but I don't know. I think it's not going to be as widespread as people maybe assume. But, crazier things have happened, and I'm hoping the Hokies can figure out how to get a win on the road or just something positive because I would hate for Ken Gibbs to have to come back here on Monday and talk junk about you again. So there's that. All right, we're moving on to another Coastal Division matchup, Pitt versus Virginia. Not the greatest season for either, but nonetheless, they are going to try to do the damn thing on ACC Network at noon. They will be in Charlottesville. Drake, how are you feeling about Pitt? Only -4.5 right now.
That's interesting to me because Pitt has been one of those teams where I can't really put my finger on it, even though we basically have said that Keaton Slovis, we had high hopes for him in this year and just basically hasn't really shown much of anything. But then you have a Virginia team that has that. It's really weird because their defense is actually, their secondary is actually one of the tops in the conference, which is actually really surprising. But then they're really hamstrung by a very, I guess was the best word to put it, a very inept offense. To me, I think this is a game where Pitt at 4.5, that's a sneaky decent play over here. So to me, I'm going to take Pitt here actually -4.5.
We love the word sneaky on this show. There are rumors that Narduzzi is not really feeling Slovis and he might not be there after the season is over. He might go back into that portal, dip that toe, and say, maybe we need another quarterback. That would be terrible for Slovis, right? That's what, your third school?
That'd be a second. No, so yeah. So because Pitt's his second school, so leaving for another one,
Okay.
yeah, you're right. That would be his third school. So it gets to the point where I think what Chase Bryce kind of did that, didn't he? Chase Bryce was at
Mhm.
Clemson, then went over to Duke. But hey, I mean, he went to Appalachian State, had a decent year last year. He got to be Texas A&M this year. So you know what? Maybe third time is a charm for Keaton. Go to the group of 5, stunt down there real quick. You okay?
Yeah, I hit the wall because I'm like, yeah, charge to the gram. It's fine. Totally fine. No worries at all. Then we'll head into these 3:30 matchups. We've got Louisville and Clemson, which for me is the first trap game of the weekend. Louisville is playing some really good ball right now. That defense is looking sharp. Malik Cunningham is doing just enough. And Clemson, emotionally, where are they at? They fell to the number 10 spot. Now you're trying to tell yourself, all right, stay in it. There's always still a chance mathematically for you to figure out and find yourself in the college football playoffs. But can they use that underdog mentality that Dabo Swinney loves so much and figure out how to win on ESPN against the Cardinals?
So I want to say earlier in the week that I think you guys were talking about how Clemson losing was bad for the ACC overall. I think
Yeah.
Kenton was saying that the CFP representative, it's gone. People will look bad at the ACC. And you know what? That's the reasonable take. That's the correct take, and that's the best take to have. But I'm a hater at heart, and I'm very happy to see Dabo Swinney lose. But also, I'm very happy to see Marcus Freeman actually get a signature win because people were
That's
asking for
fair.
him to be fired in the first 3 to 4 weeks for no damn
That's
reason
fair.
when Brian Kelly basically left him with a very poor offense. And now you have him that ranked back in the CFP, I think, a number 20 overall. Marcus Freeman is showing that he is a damn good head coach. And listen, being up on Dabo, 20-0, I think heading to the fourth quarter, that was beautiful to me. So then also I need to go over to Scott Satterfield, who's someone that I have been saying bad things about since you've had me on this show. He's been doing an extremely damn good job. And Malik
The
Cunningham is a big
Fighting
reason why.
Satterfields.
The
Yeah.
fighting Satterfields. The seat was hot, and then now it's like, okay, Scott, I see what you have on the offense, but also the defense side of the ball with that secondary too as well with Control Clark and Jarvis Brownlee. They're playing really well. And +7 for Louisville. I don't think lightning strikes twice. But I don't think Louisville's going to win the game, but they'll cover here because right now Clemson, that offense is looking like what we thought it was going to be when we saw them against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what's crazier? Like we talked about it the week before, and we said to ourselves, listen, at the end of the day, what kind of mentality is DJU going to have if you always know that somebody is going to be right there on your neck and replace you if you have one bad series, if you have one bad half? Like, what is it going to take? I think this is the same kind of vibe, right? I see DJ starting, but will he finish the game? That sucks. That's literally the rest of the season for us. And 2 games left, bowl game, all the things. Is it a DJ do good enough? But if it's not great, I'm going with Cade. And are we going to see a shift? And he's probably going to transfer. I don't know.
Oh, I think he's gone. But also, it's like you see
Yeah.
how Cade struggles in the game even after you replace him. So then, how does that make DJ feels like this kid isn't giving us a better chance to win? Everyone can see that right now, but you're still benching me for him. That's kind of a slight from Dabo, to be honest with you. Now, Dabo would understand that you can't go from Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence to DJ. Like you've had all these 5-star quarterbacks. What's going to happen now when that entire defensive line for Clemson's gone? Because right now, all it is Will Shipley, and that's it. So, when we're all talking about how Brent Venables is struggling in Oklahoma, Tony Elliott struggling over at Virginia. So then, why now that they're all going to be gone? So it's like Dabo, can you really show up that basically that you're a good head coach? And DJU, he'll go over to UCLA, hang out with Chip Kelly, replace DTR. So that's what I think is going to be going to.
To me, this is all boils down to ego, right? They all broke up the band. It's giving very much band breakup for no reason. Like you could have just regrouped, had a kumbaya meeting and sat there and said, listen, we're going through some things, but we can figure it out together and blah, 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 blah. But they were like, no, I want to lead, Brett Venables. I want to lead myself, Tony Elliott. And now we're forcing Dabo to, build up a quarterback. And while he said he has all the faith in the world of him, it doesn't seem like that because as Ken Gibbs mentioned, he ain't never seen Trevor Lawrence be pickpocketed in and out when he wasn't doing well. He ain't never seen that, right?
I mean, he had faith in Kelly Bryant. Remember what happened with that?
Hello, somebody. So I just, it's very, very interesting to see. But I want to shout out Slam Tana, who always gives us a good time here. My biggest Louisville fan, Swaggerfield, Go Cards. Listen, love that. Swaggerfield. Like we said, those boys are playing hard. If for nothing else, they are trying to do their damnedest to make sure that their coach comes back and actually use all those 20-star recruits that he has coming in to the program. But as I mentioned, this episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to spice up college football season. I am going with Duke quarterback Riley Leonard, higher than 50.5 rushing yards against the Virginia Tech Hokies. I think that Drake May will be lower than 300.5 passing yards against Wake Forest. Maybe that defense will come through, maybe not. We'll see. But Underdog is easy to play and available in over 30 states. Just pick between 2 and 5 players across any team, not just your team, and decide if they will finish higher or lower. One of the best, easiest fantasies to play games out there, and you can win hard, cold cash in a single game. Sign up with promo code Locked On, and Underdog will double your deposit up to $100. Deposit $100, get $100 free. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store or Google Play. That's Underdog Fantasy using promo code Locked On, one word, and get in on the college football pick'em action today. We're rocking and rolling with I almost said Kenton Gibbs. We're rocking and rolling with Drizzy Drake here of Locked On Seminoles podcast. He loves to talk about those Seminoles each and every day. So if you're not following Locked On Seminoles, make sure you do that. You can also follow his fun message boards with Noles Anonymous and all the things. But we got Boston College and NC State facing off at 3:30. Last time that the Pack will be in Carter Finley. And let me just sit here and say, what a way to end it, because you're probably going to blow Boston College out the water. That defense is doing great. And now you have an opportunity to just really fine-tune some things as you head into the 12th week and then in your postseason play.
Yeah, Him-J Morris. I think that's a great nickname. That's basically the best way to put it. He was someone that I saw actually back in high school recruiting-wise. He's someone that Kenny Dillingham, the former offensive coordinator at Florida State, the current offensive coordinator at Oregon, actually heavily recruited. And to me, that's someone that potentially he could have a higher ceiling and higher output than Devin Leary when his career is actually done at NC State. You supplement that with a very, very effective defense. To me, the only thing that limits him would probably be Tim Beck, but even he's been a little bit better. But then Boston College at this point, they may have found someone with Emmett Moorhead. And to me, like, he looks a lot more comfortable than Phil. Phil is probably going to go to his Group of 5 school, probably heading into the offseason, because I don't think Jeff Hafley and him are seeing ITI. So with a play team, minus 18, I'm a little wary on this, so I'm going to go with the under 41 here. I know it's a very low number, but I fully expect NC State's defense to actually impose their will against a very depleted offensive line, because I'm pretty sure now Boston College's offensive line has like 3 or 2 walk-ons on it now. And that just, it's you can't help but feel bad about Jeff Hafley at this point.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel bad. I don't know what the answer is.
He did it to himself. He did it to himself with the transfer rules, but you're right. So you're right about that.
1,000%. All right, I'm gonna leave it at that, because I feel like it's just a bludgeoning, and we'll hope for the best. Give it your all. We thought, I honestly was over Boston College after they lost to UConn, because it's like, at this point, you're not going to win another game. So, it is what it is. All right, Miami, Georgia Tech face off at 3:30 on ESPN3. Georgia Tech right now as the favorite. I know I'm going to give you the floor, because I am pretty sure a 45-3 win last weekend got you in all of your feels, Drizzy Drake.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm just going to say one thing and one thing only. That was pretty embarrassing, but I'm not going to beat them down any further, because I'm pretty sure if you look at the spaces overall that Miami fans have had ever since that game ended, Lions will concern themselves with opinions of sheep. So I'm going to let them do what they want to do.
Did they have a fire Mario spaces?
I think they had to fire everybody. I think they had to fire Mario, fire Gas, fire the Water Boy, follow the rental at the Airbnb. That's Hard Rock Stadium. Sorry, Florida State Seminole Hard Rock Stadium, because that's our home. But what it is, what it is. Georgia Tech did open as a 1-point favorite, which is kind of surprising to me. But then now it's a pick 'em overall. To me, it's a game Miami should win, but they haven't scored a touchdown offensively or defensively in the past 2 weeks. Georgia Tech actually has a very, very solid defense, a swarming defense. Was a funny pun. So to me, Zach Pyron might be the best quarterback on the field that day. And I think Zach Pyron actually might lead Georgia Tech to a win. So as a pick'em, I don't see the value there. So give me the under 44, and I can see probably Georgia Tech winning 27 to maybe 14.
Now, you have your first-year coach in Miami. You have an interim coach in Georgia Tech. To me, at some point, with all the coaching abilities that they say coming out of Miami, you would hope that they could figure it out, right? Am I confused, or I'm a little spot on?
No, I think you're spot on. I think the primary problem is, like, Mario Cristobal is an excellent recruiter. I still think that he basically actually is someone that kids eventually want to play for. Like, folks, I know this is the Florida State guy coming here, so take it with a grain of salt. You look at his team in Oregon, that offensive line is elite. That entire offensive line is kids that he recruited. And I think if he stays there, that'll be great for him. The only thing he needs to change is his approach to his staff. Kevin Steele, I said in the offseason, he's an old defensive coordinator. He hasn't been elite since 2010, 2009. Also with Josh Gass, right now you're seeing him. I don't think he's held at any accountability at all, period, when it comes to these offensive overall. When like wide receivers are, have no idea what to do. Freaking Tyler Van Dyke has been struggling overall. Jake Garcia looks absolutely lost. So to me, I think it's more that they need to bring the kids in, the young guys. Basically, we saw with Mike Norvell the past 2 years, and also bringing a staff that I think the recruiting will be fine with Mario at the helm and also with the billionaire John Ruiz basically helping to basically bring kids in. So bringing coaches that actually can coach and develop. And I think Miami, not this year, maybe not next year, but I think 2 years from now, you actually will see basically something brewing in Miami. You guys have hope. It's a nice thing, though.
There we go. Shout out to our homie Alex Dono, because I know the Oregon fans are probably in his comment sections on the daily being like, thank you for taking Mario off our hands, because now we are knocking on the college football playoff door. It's really, I don't know how I would feel if I saw my former team being 8-1, really at the opportunity to be in a position to really play for more while I'm over here just begging for wins. Like, give me anything. It's tough.
Listen, he's from here. He grew up here, went to Christopher Columbus High, played in Miami like back in the day. His wife is from here. He wanted to be down and closer to the family. I completely get it. I mean, I was over in Baltimore law school. You always want to come back home. I'm back home in South Florida. I never want to leave ever again. I'm going to build my family and everything else, so I completely get it. I hope he's successful. Latino guy. I always want the best for our boys and women. So we'll see, but I definitely do hope that basically he's able to turn it around. But y'all need to be patient because as much as I troll, you really, really need to stick with this guy because you can't afford to go with anybody else who will basically be as committed to this team as he is.
1,000%. All right, let's move on to North Carolina and Wake Forest. A lot of money to be made. If you aren't betting the over, you're kidding yourself. I think there's going to be very minimal defense. But crazier things have happened. And because I say that, that means the best defense we're going to see all season from both Wake Forest and North Carolina are going to be at the helm. And we're going to be sitting here saying Gene Chizik is a genius, or we're going to be telling ourselves Wake Forest is who we thought they were. A really high offensive team, high octane offensive team, and a less than stellar defensive team.
I think this game has averaged around 92 points the past two seasons when they played each other. Yeah. So this is a game right now. The total's at 77. Take Candace's advice, slam the over, and when they score a touchdown, live bet the over once up to 84, and keep just doing it until basically someone stops scoring. So, Candace, to me, the one thing though, I'll look at the sides here. Wake Forest has struggled in the past few weeks. North Carolina, if Drake May actually probably played for a bigger tier program, Drake May would 100% be in the Heisman conversation.
What do you mean bigger tier program? Wait a minute.
Football. If he was playing at Michigan or Notre Dame, he would 100% be in a Heisman conversation. Part of that is the.
Hell, Carolina is 8-1. What you want us to do? Mac Barron been quiet this whole season. I'm actually proud of him. I thank him for that.
No, but listen, like Drake May playing at North Carolina for football reason, but if he's playing at Alabama, the school that he was originally committed to, don't you think he'd be getting some Heisman hype?
Oh, he would be going to New York. Well, let's start there. But I'm saying is North Carolina is not a chump school, people.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying people that
I didn't say you said that. I'm just speaking to the audience. I'm speaking to the group, right?
Yeah, but you're right.
There are people who agree with you who are like, they were playing at what more do you want the man to do? They're 8-1. They did all the things. It ain't his fault the Coastal sucks.
It ain't his fault, but that's also kind of the part of the problem, right?
Now, if Miami had been competitive, we'd probably be having a different conversation, right? We probably would be sitting here saying, okay, he definitely deserves an opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that's someone that, Slam 10, is right about that. If U of L can present a Heisman and U of L can produce a Heisman, I agree with that. Just more that I think with media, people that are voting for these awards, they see North Carolina as the basketball school. But even though I think Drake May is someone that needs to be talked of in the top 3 of Heisman contention. Now,
I bet you they'd be talking about it when they beat Clemson at the ACC championship, but we can say that.
So then before we get into that over there, how do you feel about this game? Because right now my bet contingent on your opinion about the game, because I know you're probably the most critical, but you're the most realistic UNC fan that I know. And I know only two.
That for me. Well, I think that Wake Forest, as much as I want them to get their lick back from last season when they kind of wet the bed towards the end and just undid themselves defensively, I really think that emotionally they're not there, and it's going to trickle onto this. Like UNC has figured out ways to win tough in ways that I have not seen in the past couple of years. And I'm actually proud of the defensive, stands and coming up clutch in important moments. And we know that Drake can't afford to have a bad game, and that sucks for him. So if he's playing any kind of shaky, if we see multiple, turnovers, but especially Wake Forest capitalizing on said turnovers, it's going to be a long day for North Carolina. I think they ultimately come out with the win. However, we're a top 15 team. Who knows if we're walking around like our H don't stink. I would be leery. What's the right word I'm looking for? You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I would just be cautious about North Carolina pulling out this dub. I think they can do it, but I wouldn't bet Wake Forest as the underdog. Not at all.
Yeah. So, folks, take UNC +4, and also, as you know, my line sprinkle the +160 because I do think UNC is the better team. I know that one of the big things we learned in our Locked On ACC is that we don't give UNC that much credit because when everyone starts doing that in the offseason, they kind of, piss down their leg real quick. But to me, this is a Wake Forest team that mentally they're locked. So up until this point now, we're going to take UNC to win this game outright. And Drake may, maybe, just maybe, UNC could be a top 10 team by the end of next week.
That would bless my little soul. I would be so happy because I feel like North Carolina men's basketball is going to be out of the number 1 spot probably in 2 games. So if we could just get a little balance, that would be great for the universe. All right, final. Don't get me started, Drizzy Drake. All right, we got one more game to go over here. But first, did you know that over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and packages thefts spike nationally? That's why our friends at SimpliSafe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your SimpliSafe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. SimpliSafe was named the best home security system of 2022 by U.S. News and World Report for a 3rd year in a row. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively in SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify that the threat is real so you can prioritize police response. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/lockedoncollege. That's SimpliSafe. Say that 3 times fast. This is their biggest discount of the year, so you don't want to wait. That's simplisafe.com/lockedoncollege. There is no safe like SimpliSafe. All right, wrapping up the show here, Drizzy Drake of Locked On Seminoles podcast. Make sure you guys check him out. We are talking about all of the great games here at Week 11, the best bets. We want Miami to bounce back. We want to feel like Duke can keep it rolling. And more importantly, we got to say Florida State. Can you back up a really good performance with another hard-hitting one? Yes, Syracuse fell out of the top 25, but they are a good team. The status of Garrett Shrader is unknown. Garrett Williams is out, but maybe they're not a fluke. We're just going to hope and pray that they're not a fluke. And there's only a touchdown lead here for Florida State as it currently stands. How are you feeling about the Seminoles playing at Syracuse?
So one of the things about Syracuse that I was talking about with Dave, that sneakily they could be a very good team. The only problem is how they're going to fare in the back half of their schedule. First few games, a Louisville team still trying to find themselves, UConn, a Purdue team that's been off and on, bad Virginia, an FCS and Wagner. They had to bye a week. But then they have NC State. They beat, honestly, if Devin Leary plays that game, I don't think they win that game. Then they go over and play Clemson. Clemson, very physical defense. Then they play Notre Dame, a very, very physical Marcus Freeman defense. And then they play Pitt, who Pat Narduzzi may is bread and butter, being a talented defensive coordinator. So right now, Syracuse is on a losing streak of 3 games. They also are down Garrett Shrader. So now they go over to Carlos Del Rio Wilson, who last week did not have one of his best days. But also defensive line is injured. Their all ACC corner is also out. And now you're seeing basically the opposite of what happened to Florida State, where now basically Florida State is going up against backup QBs in the past few games. They went up against Jake Garcia last week. The week before that, they went against Zach Gibson, Zach Pyron. And now they're going up against Carlos Del Rio Wilson. Now, I am a little concerned that this might be in a spot where basically you had very high emotions. You're smoking cigars in the locker room. Basically, you beat down your rival. And I got to travel all the way up to the Carrier Dome. I know it's JM at Wireless Dome, but at my age, it's still the Carrier Dome. Right. Praise be. To me, -7, I think, is a very, very slim number. It's an easier number. If it was Garrett Shrader, I would take Syracuse. But Carlos Del Rio Wilson and Sean Tucker, who I'm pretty sure is also pretty banged up, but seeing how his carries and touches have been a lot smaller the past few weeks, give me FSU at -7 and give me the over as well.
Yeah, I also think that for Syracuse, they really needed health. They needed health of their playmakers to last them throughout the season. The fact that they don't have that now really just speaks volumes to the lack of depth and maybe the lack of recruiting issues that we have for Dino Babers, and the fact that we can't get guys, next man up mentality and all the things. So as much as I want Dino to stay, I think 6 wins might keep you, but you got to find one win against a good school to make me feel like we're still moving in the right direction. Because yes, we know you can beat the schools you're supposed to beat, but can you elevate one more?
I mean, look, he's got us, and then they travel to Wake Forest, and then they travel Chestnut Hill. So basically, you need to take at least one of those 3 games, and I think Boston College is already a gimme. I think you can probably steal one against Wake Forest because they're kind of spiraling right now. But this is a Florida State team that for that meteor part of the NC State, Clemson, and Wake Forest schedule, they didn't have Fabian Lovett. They didn't have Robert Scott. They have Jordan Travis was still injured. And now it's a fully healthy Florida State team that has scored 40 points in its past 2 games consecutively. This is a pissed off physical team now. And quite honestly with you, I thought I would never say that about a Mike Norvell-led team, and I am very happy to basically be very wrong about that.
Yeah. Listen, I think Jamie Robinson looked like a dog.
Oh my God. He just I felt so bad for that Miami quarterback. I'm like that's disrespectful as hell, just ragdolling him on the ground.
Dog, he was looking crazy. But overall, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I like when FSU is good. It's better for the brand of the ACC, and that's fine by me. Hate it had to be y'all Miami, but you live to see another day, and maybe Syracuse can put up a good fight. It'll be a good showing either way. So those are all your games here for Week 11 and the best bets. We're gonna get you some money. Make sure that you let us know how you do with the different bets that you put up against all of your favorite ACC teams. And if you want to follow Drizzy Drake for a little more action, especially if you like the Seminoles, where can they find you? Beyond tally __ Drizzy Drake.
Well, you can follow my co-host David Wise at FSU Knowles. The O is a 0 and the S is a 5 because he's ancient as hell. And then you can follow the podcast at Knowles Anonymous, basically where we engage with our fans. We have a Discord where we find out our themes for episodes, our man-to-man mailbag Mondays. And folks, please bet responsibly. Always like to have a good time around here, but don't be going with your entire paychecks. Do little sprinkles in that here now and again. And folks, as always, we're fans first, people second, and content creators third.
Love that. Guys, have a great and safe weekend. Come back on Monday with Kenton Gibbs. We're going to talk about good, bad, and ugly with the Atlantic Division teams. Then we got your Tuesday packed with some good, bad, and ugly for the coastal side. And I cannot believe we're in our last week of regular season college football. It's crazy. Time is flying when we're having fun with all our friends. And, of course, we'll have some basketball updates for you, both men and women, and all the good stuff. So for Candace Cooper and Drizzy Drake, until next time.